I want to share with you what I feel is the single biggest mistake that people make when it comes to app marketing. And that is that they think too narrowly, and they think that app marketing is basically the same thing as app store marketing. So things like app store optimization, which is essentially search engine optimization for app stores, and things like advertising on the app stores. Now, there are a few key problems with this that I'm going to explain in a moment, but first I'm just going to give you an example. So I recently bought the latest iPhone. And there was a problem that I had, and the problem was that when I take videos with an iPhone, I don't have the ability to blur the background. Blurring the background, putting it out of focus, is something that can be easily achieved with a DSLR camera, but not so much with the iPhone. So what I did was I went to Google and I said, blurry background iPhone video. And then I brought to a YouTube video through Google. And in the YouTube video, there is an influencer in the video space who talks about how you can achieve this using this app called Focus Live. So then what do? I go to the App Store, I look for Focus Live, I download the app, and I'm able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I was able to solve my problem. So you see that whole customer journey began with a trigger event, which was me buying the iPhone. There was a problem that I had, and then I sought out a solution to the problem. What I didn't do was go straight to the App Store and search for an app. I didn't even know that an app was the solution. For all I knew, it was some sort of thing I log into on my laptop and I mirror it. I had no concept of how to solve the problem. It happened to be that an app was the solution. So you can see here the limitations of only focusing on the app stores, because in my situation, the App Store was nothing more than the last touch point that I had when I had already made up my decision. I already knew the brand name, I already knew the app I wanted, I already knew how to solve my problem. It was just kind of a motion I had to go through. So the biggest problem with limiting your understanding of app marketing to app stores is that it ignores the fundamentals of marketing. And usually the fundamentals of marketing is solving a problem. I mean, there are different ways that you can create value, but usually it's problem oriented. And then it ignores other key things, like what is the customer journey? And the customer journey usually involves some sort of trigger event, and that trigger event often has nothing to do with the App Store. Sometimes it does, but usually not. And then the other key fundamental of psychology is psychology, persuasion. So there was this influencer who looked like a credible source. He didn't look like he was biased or paid for by the app. And he was able to persuade me through visuals, through his own command of voice, that this was going to solve my problem. Another key problem is that when you rely on any sort of inbound channel, whether it's a Google search or an App Store search or a YouTube search, is that you're really limiting the demand for your app. You're limiting that demand by the people that are actively searching for a solution. But there are all sorts of marketing you could be doing that are not that expensive and are extremely effective, that are on the outbound approach, where you're actually creating demand for your app, not just kind of capturing it. Another key issue is that it's competitive. So when people are going to the App Store, they're going to be looking at you, they're going to be looking at a competitor, so they're more price sensitive, they're less willing to commit to your brand. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do App Store marketing. I'm going to talk a lot about it, and I'm going to talk about App Store optimization, which is something I do believe in. I'm just saying that there are limitations to it, and that when you're developing a comprehensive marketing plan, you need to factor in other considerations. Now, the fact that it's competitive is bad in some sense, but it's also a signal that perhaps there is high demand for what you're selling. I'm just saying that you want to generate demand in other places where you don't face as much competition, as well as more competitive spaces like app stores. Now, the biggest thing here is the challenge with App Store marketing is that when you become too fixated on it, you're going to ignore much bigger opportunities. And one of those opportunities that I think is the biggest is partnerships and influencers, because influencers have huge audiences of people that they can expose to your app, and that can be one of the easiest ways to drive installs.